Greetings, colleagues, and welcome to the 2020-2021 school year. Hope you've enjoyed your summer and are looking forward to our return to school, whether that be in a in-person or virtual format. The purpose of this video is to replace what would traditionally be our first day of school faculty meeting with the entire EMS family. For many reasons, we have elected to create this video, kind of flip the experience, allow you to take it in at your own speed on your own time. And then we're going to ask you to acknowledge that you have viewed this video and you understand all the information that is contained therein. We will also be holding a Q&A session on the 4th, Friday the 4th. So even if you watch this and you've taken the time to consider all the protocols and changes that are going to be reviewed, we're going to, when I say we, I mean Jess, Desiree, and myself are going to make ourselves available in person in the ELC on Friday morning at 9 o'clock. So we can just do a Q&A jam session there as well. Make sure everybody feels good about where we are. I can tell you that things are still popping in high gear here in the building. We had hand sanitizer stations installed this week. We've got floor signage going up early next week. So we're really ramping up into high gear, and we're, among other things, we're really looking forward to getting kids back in the building. And I know I speak for myself when I say that's not the only emotion that I experience, but I am looking forward to welcoming you all back, to welcoming our kids back. It's going to feel different. It's going to look different, but we're doing everything we can to still do school and still offer that top quality middle school experience that we have come to expect here at EMS. So with that being said, let's get started. Attached to this email that's going to go out to you all, there's also going to be a couple other links. One of them is the opening day schedule. This is, quite frankly, Dr. Sipes' document, just switched with an EMS logo and a few EMS specific directions, where on Dr. Sipes' document, it was just kind of general, go to your building. I tried to make it a little bit more specific to what you folks will be doing. So please take some time to review that. When we get to Wednesday and Thursday of next week, where all the different PD sessions, are going on, there's going to be Google Meet links to participate, all of those things virtually. And as I understand it, you will be doing that from here, from within your classroom or your working space here in the building, but you will be attending those sessions live via Google Meets. So that's the direction that we're going to go. I know there's been many questions about that. Do want to take a moment and welcome back in certain cases. Folks new to EMS this year, Mrs. McBurney will be working fully virtually, but she's going to fill the role of special ed in-class and out-of-class replacement. Rabia Hamadi will be serving on our 7th grade social studies team, starting off the year 100% virtual as well, and then ultimately filling the spot left by Mr. DiPietro, who's moving up to 8th grade because Mr. Doyle is heading up to the high school. The green grass grows all around and around. Also want to welcome, and I'll just go from left to right here on the picture. We have Miss Turner, Health and Phys Ed. We have Miss Hamadi, who I mentioned before, 7th grade social studies. We have Miss Pilrun, 7th grade science. Center in the back there is Mr. Monahan, who's Miss Perrone's lead replacement for 7th grade band. We have Miss Richardson, who's 7th grade math. Back right there is Mr. Burkhat for French, grade 7 and 8. And then we also have Miss Del Rosario, who will be fulfilling ELL responsibilities for both EMS and Lincoln Roosevelt. So welcome to all. We're so grateful to have you as part of our family. You're going to find that everywhere you look around here, there are colleagues who are willing to back you up, support you, help you. And that's one of the many reasons that makes EMS such a great place to work. Quick review of how the hybrid schedule is going to work. Again, Mondays are virtual for everybody. The expectation is, and you see in the top left corner of the screen, our bell schedule for Mondays, that students are receiving live virtual instruction from their teachers during these times. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be on screen talking for the full period of time, but you are expected to be live and available to your particular classes at those times. You'll notice that in that Monday schedule, period 4 is a common lunch for all. And then students will follow the courses as laid out in their Genesis for periods 1 through 3, and then again 5, 6, and 7. When we pivot to in-person days, Tuesday through Friday, again, the blue kids, who in most cases are A through L, first letter of last name, they're coming in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The gold kids, M through Z, coming in Wednesdays and Fridays. Now, exploratory teachers, keep in mind, Tuesday and Wednesday are A days. Thursday and Friday are B days. We are locked into that. And pardon me for a minute, when we go back to virtual Mondays, the first virtual Monday is an A day, second virtual Monday is a B day, and so forth and so on, back and forth. Then, of course, after we go through the 7-period day in a 4-hour format, let's say it's Tuesday, the blue students were in the building, they head home, and then we make ourselves available to the gold students, the students who we did not see in the building, for those virtual office hours in the afternoon. Those virtual office hours are organized by department, so you can see them here on your screen. These are like core extension. These are appointment only, so it should not be, and it should not feel like all of your students are coming to you at one time. Rather, this is a dedicated time during the day where you can work with at-risk students, students who are falling behind for any one of a variety of reasons. Again, here's the daily bell schedule for in-person days. It's a 7-period day, as it always has been, 4 core periods, 2 exploratory courses, and then replacing lunch are study halls. So 7th grade gets their study hall to 9:42 to 10:13. 8th graders get their study hall from 10:15 to 10:46. So 31 minutes, pardon me, per period. You will also notice, again, that students are not gathering in the auditorium in the morning. So they are arriving, our expectation is no earlier than 7:38, although we can't control the buses. So there may be a couple kids that we have to store in the auditorium if their buses get earlier. But for the most part, kids are going straight to homerooms. That's why it's so important that every teacher has a homeroom partner. We all know that life happens. So the expectation is you don't both need to be there all the time, but one of you's got to be there from 7:38 to 7:58 because kids are coming and they're heading right to homeroom, which is their period 1 class. Excuse me. Quick note on study hall, that's when band, orchestra, and choir directors will have the opportunity to pull students. They are, as we speak, working on creating schedules so that, you know, this group of students always comes on Tuesdays, this group on Wednesdays, this group Thursdays and Fridays, so that we can establish a little bit of predictability. Right now, our hope is that September 15th, which is the Tuesday after our first virtual Monday, we can begin pulling some students for band, orchestra, and choir. If they're not going to band, orchestra, or choir that day, they're staying in your study hall. You'll notice 7th grade study hall is really an extension of Core 2, and an 8th grade study hall is an extension of Core 3. There's not going to be bells, folks. 7:58, we'll ring a bell to start the day, and 11:58, we're going to ring a bell to end the day. Other than that, I do ask that we're all patient with one another. We're not going to have bells ringing from class to class. It is our recommendation that you consider hiring or delegating that responsibility to a student who can just kind of keep track of time, let you know when it's a 5-minute warning. And the reason that we're shutting off those bells is we do not want to have that kind of mass exodus out into the hallway. We'll speak to hall traffic in a moment, but we just don't want to have that happening. And I know so often, as soon as that bell rings, you know, every door flies open, every class kind of spills out into the hallways, and we're just trying to create some natural staggering that will occur if we just turn off those bells. I mentioned to you about band, orchestra, choir. In person, choir is going to be juggling act between Mr. Salyards and Mr. Hashi. In-person band is going to be primarily the responsibility of Mr. Monahan, who's our leave replacement for Ms. Perrone once again. In-person band for 8th graders. We're going to have Mr. Conrad, Mr. Sweer, Mr. Monahan, maybe even a few others from the vertical teaching team work together to carve out an in-person band schedule for our 8th graders. Mr. Vicutti and Mrs. Harrison will be working primarily with those virtual students, and Mr. Goodwin will have kind of a combination of both once we get all of this up and running. But what we wanted to do is really keep these kids connected to those programs. They're so important to these students. The relationships they have with their directors are so important. It's not going to be a full ensemble. You're going to be, working with 3, 4, or 5 kids at a time. They might use the auditorium. They might go outside on good weather days. But we're not going to be seeing that, full choral group or that full band group. Everything will have to be broken into smaller parts. Then we have the first ever EMS LR virtual school. Keep in mind, this is a totally separate school. These are students that have elected to, or their families have elected to have them start off the year fully virtually. The expectation for those of you that are teaching these courses, and I do want to point out that Ms. Rucker, Ms. Bellecci, Ms. Hamadi, and Ms. Blewett, that's our core virtual team. They are only working with virtual students. They do not have any responsibilities here in the building. Mrs. McBurney, she's going to be our special education teacher of record for both the resource room classes, which are going to be multi-grade, 7 and 8, all 4 subjects, as well as in-class resource for students who have that as their IEP program in a variety of subject areas. So she's going to be providing supplemental and consultative support in a variety of subject areas. Mrs. Harrison's going to be the music teacher. So you'll see there that students in grades 7 and 8 have music as their cycle class, if you will. And that does mean that there will be no music class running in the building during the first marking period at least. And then, of course, every student needs PE and a world language. So our PE and world language teams do have the distinct responsibility of not only having virtual students, either early in the morning or in the case of French at the end of the day, but they also have in-person responsibilities as any other of our in-person teachers would have during our 7-period in-person day. Again, Mondays, the first Monday is an A day. The second Monday is a B day for exploratories. Third is an A day, and so forth and so on. And just like in school, Tuesdays and Wednesdays are A days. Thursdays and Fridays are B days. So we really wanted that to be consistent, regardless of whether our students were working and learning in person or remotely. Daily attendance, if I understand this correctly, and I'm sure Dr. Sipe and Mr. Ziegler are going to go over that during one of those mandatory sessions, for the hybrid group, the kids that are coming in school, my expectation is that if it's a blue day, teachers are going to be taking normal attendance for blue students. The gold students who are at home at that moment are going to be defaulted as present. They're expected to keep up with their courses of study, and their parents are required, if for whatever reason their child is not able to do the work that their teachers have assigned for them to do asynchronously or offsite, then we're asking parents to go into Genesis Parent Portal and mark them as absent so that we can provide them with makeup time as appropriate. For the 100% virtual kids, every day they're going to be defaulted as present unless their parents record them as absent and unavailable to attend their classes and complete the work that would be expected of them on that given day. So that is, as I understand it, a slight change in procedure from the spring, where we were having, of course, every student daily do the Google form and choose either present or absent. I mentioned homeroom partners. I mentioned how important this is to for us to kind of just work together and be flexible and stay liquid these days. Again, you're not both expected or required to be in the same room at the same time, but you are definitely expected and required to work together. Maybe, one person does Tuesdays and Thursdays in the building, the other one does Wednesdays and Fridays. Whatever works between the two of you, we will support. So, for example, if Mr. Smith is running late one day, our expectation is that he would call Ms. Del Rosario, who's the new ELL teacher, and just say, "Hey, Monica, listen, I'm running late. Can you make it there by 7:38 to make sure that the kids are supervised as they come in the classroom?" Interactions like that. If we are able to get advisories up and running, you two would work together to implement those lessons as created by our advisory advisors. But that's down the road, right? The first step is to just get our feet beneath us, get a feeling for what this new version of temporary normal is going to look like. And then we can kind of take it from there. But it's so important to have a partner, right? It's so important to have somebody that you can count on somebody who's your first point of contact when life happens. And of course, if that person's unavailable for whatever reason, then you go ahead and you call Ms. Slepian up front, and we begin the coverage process. I want to shift gears. I want to talk about some of the layouts that you're going to find when you come in the building if you haven't been here already. Please keep in mind that these are it's not set in stone concrete. We wanted to remove this burden from you. So we did set up rooms in a way where we had spacing from body to body. We had a layout that would provide you with a safe environment to welcome kids into. So we'll start on the top left. So this is going to be the default setting for anybody who has single desks in their room. So you'll notice we push 2 desks together. And if you look at the bottom, there's Miss Swaim. She's regarded as a blue student. She's working there in the blue desk, and she has put her personal items on the adjacent gold desk. Keep in mind, every day at the end of the day, these rooms are deep cleaned and sanitized. So there's nothing to worry about when the following day the gold kid comes, and then they use the blue desk to their left as their place for their personal effects. So the same kind of concept applies for our double desks. You see these in a lot of our math classrooms in particular. You got a gold one and you got a blue one. When it comes to circle arrangements, which you see in Mr. Mack's room, Mr. Doyle's room, Ms. Tucker's room, our recommendation is whenever practicable, put only 1 kid at those tables. They can certainly come in, put their things down, maybe 2 at a table, but then you'd want that person to kind of scoot back in their chair or find another place in the room where they could settle in and do their work after you've given directions. Keep in mind, the expectation is that we're maintaining at all times a minimum of 6 feet between student to student. Masks are on all the time, as you know. And if you do have to, get closer to the kid and work with them, you're a teacher, right? They're a student. That's going to happen. You just want to limit the amount of time that you're close to them. It's not like, everybody's got cooties and nobody can go near anybody, right? We just want to keep our distance. We want to keep reinforcing, spacing. But, we still got a job to do. Additional resources. So every classroom, I'm going to start in the middle here, has just been outfitted with one of these automatic hand sanitizers. They are no touch. I will tell you that a significant amount of liquid does come out when you put your hands under there, so be ready for that. Signage in every room. This is, of course, reinforcing the importance of social distancing, hand hygiene, and other respiratory habits. We're going to have some backup masks on hand. Every teacher is also going to get a kind of a PPE care package, if you will. Central office is putting that together for everybody as we speak. And then you'll be seeing these gray spray bottles. The best thing about these are they do not require wiping. Mr. Riffle is going to create a video that will demonstrate how to just do a gentle mist on your hard surfaces like desks. And we're told that it has about a 3 to 4 minute cure time where it's completely dry. There's no need to wipe it. So our recommendation is going to be, if that is the direction we go, you build in some procedures, right? At the beginning of class, maybe kids walk in, they sanitize, go to their desk, do what they got to do. And then again, maybe that time manager person, that person in charge of watching the clock, when you get to 5 minutes, then you want to start transitioning to cleaning up, getting ready to go. And you'd be able to spray those desks so that they could dry in between classes. I want to be clear, we're not requiring you to do this between every class. We are providing you with the resources that you feel will help you maintain the level of sanitization that your space requires, right? Classrooms have different content areas, teachers have different teaching styles, there's different things going on in every room. So this is not me telling you got to spray your desk down between every period. This is me telling you that we're providing you with the resources that you might need. We've ordered some wipes, so we can try to supplement with that. We're just going to have to work all of this stuff out. We're going to see how kind of the rhythm and the flow goes as students start coming back and start working through the day. Remember, those 31-minute periods are obviously shorter than we're used to, but we want to make sure you have the supplies and resources that you need to keep those rooms safe, because again, kids are going to be moving from class to class. Other physical changes, you'll notice that we've made the front office. I'm going to start bottom left here. So the front office, we're asking you to enter through the A hallway door. That's the door right by the front of the building. Do what you got to do. Let me back up a second. When you come in the morning, I'm going to start top left. It probably makes more sense this way. When you come in the morning, we're going to ask that you do sign in and mail through the B hallway door. That's right across from Mr. Mayola's room 1. All right. We're asking for one person at a time in there. Get in. You're going to sign off. Again, you signing in, whether it's on an app or it's on our paper sign-in sheet, you're saying that you have screened yourself. You're saying that you do not have a fever. You haven't been anywhere, any kind of red list states or countries. People at home are healthy. You have not been exposed to anyone with any respiratory diseases in the recent past. And if you can say yes to those things, then we expect that you have arrived here at school healthy and ready to do your job and not put anybody else at risk, because it is really important that we all do our part. You don't come in if you're not feeling well. Just play it safe, folks. So anyway, you're going to go in through the B hall door. You're going to exit through the B hall door. We want to limit the amount of gathering in the main office area where things are a little bit tighter. So just one at a time, please, in the mailroom. Be patient with one another. And of course, keep your distance if you have to line up outside the door to wait. If you need to go into the main office to see myself, to see Jess, to drop something off with Maria or Crystal, whatever it may be, enter through the A hallway door. All right. We've set up a one-way traffic pattern where you walk in through A hallway, you stop to take care of whatever business needs to be taken care of, and then you make a right just past my office and then exit through the B hallway door. So if we can keep that one-way traffic flow, again, that's just going to help us from kind of crossing paths and any kind of awkward or uncomfortable moments. And then, of course, there's the guidance office. I will tell you that counselors are going to largely work out of empty classrooms for their routine counseling. But we know that stuff happens, right? It's a middle school. There's going to be kids that end up in the guidance office. So we have, you'll see here on the floor, we have marked out appropriate places for students to sit while they check in with Kristen, or they await some time with Caroline and Evelyn or Jerry for whatever reason. Some additional changes to our spaces. I'll start with this one. We have turned Desiree, and just, I got to tell you how incredible Des has been. She's been working all summer long, day in, day out. There's no school that is more prepared for this than we are, and we owe that really in large part due to Des and her professionalism and dedication. So give her a big air hug or a 6-foot high five when you see her. But anyway, she has given up her health office proper, and it is now what we call our isolation area. I just want you to understand, when you walk by, you're going to see this plastic sheet by the door on the left here. Then there's another plastic sheet as you pass through that foyer area. We will have our default person to supervise this area is going to be Mrs. Seminara, who's normally our lunch assistant, but of course there's no lunch. This is where we're just going to put kids who, we're just not quite sure if they're feeling okay. Maybe they arrived in school and you're looking at them and there's just something not right. And you call Des and she comes and takes a look and it's like, something's off. We're going to send them to the isolation room. Des is going to enact her procedures, contact the appropriate people, conduct the appropriate assessments on the child's well-being. And then the kid in all likelihood is going to stay there until their parents come to pick them up. And in many cases, that phone call will happen pretty quickly. And we'll ask parents to come to the main office, let them know up front who they're picking up. And then we'll send the car down by the Loy and we'll walk the kid out to the car that way. But it's not like every child in there has COVID. It's just a place that we want to put kids if we're not quite sure if we can guarantee their health at a particular time. It's also where we might put kids who did not appropriately complete any kind of screening questions that their parents are asked to do each day. So that's the isolation room. And because of that, you will notice in the faculty room or the TLC, we have, sorry, Tiffany, we took your blue barriers here. We have placed them in the TLC. So as you walk in, if you're facing the windows, the right side is now the routine health office where kids will go to take medicine, get their vitals checked or things like that. Routine health office matters, but we call it a clean space. So that side is not where we're putting kids who don't feel well, right? That's why it's really important that if you have a child who says they're not feeling well, or you're just looking at them and they're not feeling well, do not send them to the nurse. Call Des. She will come. She'll get eyes on them. She'll talk to you. And that way we can keep the dirty kids, pardon the language, off to the isolation room, and we can keep the clean, just routine, maybe someone needs an inhaler or whatever, off in the clean room for the TLC. That does create a chain reaction. The ladies' restroom here, as you walk in through the right door, is now going to be the health office restroom. And the men's room that would have been on the other hallway is going to be the faculty ladies' room. Sorry, gents. Of course, you do have down on the way to the music wing, both ladies and men's faculty restrooms. So as long as we need to have these isolation rooms, this is going to be the kind of layout and workflow that we got to keep. And you'll notice here on the teacher side of the faculty room, we know you got to get in there to do your copies and things like that, which is fine. We're asking that we limit it to 4 people at a time. So you'll see X marks the spot, right? You got a place at either copy machine, and then if you're waiting, we ask that you give that person some space as they complete their business. Same thing for restrooms, 1 person at a time. Don't go crazy if somebody walks in. Just kind of play it cool, wait outside. Let's all just be patient. Let's all just be understanding and just kind of take it easy, and give everybody the space that they need to feel comfortable. All right, pardon me for a second. Let me get some water here. So I mentioned earlier, as students report to the school, they're going to need to go straight to their homeroom, which is their period 1 class. And a separate video that we have created for families, which you guys will see in a separate communication. We really tried to make it clear, if you can make it to period 1 on the first day of school, you're going to be okay. We've got some resources that we're going to provide you with that might help kids get to know their schedules a little bit better. For our students coming from Lincoln, the schedule from a 6th grade to a 7th grade world is very different. It's going to take them some time to get used to this. Where do I go in A days, B days? What's core class? What's an exploratory class? All of that kind of middle school jargon they're going to need some time to get used to. But anyway, we're sending kids to their homeroom period 1 class, and they are allowed to use their phones up until 7:58. This would have been the same in the auditorium. Oftentimes, they're doing anywhere of a million things, one of which is checking in with their parents. Hey, I got to school safe and sound. I'm okay. Playing their weird wonky video games. Obviously, all of our acceptable use policies still apply. No inappropriate websites or things like that. But once 7:58 hits, phones are away. Remember, no lockers. So they're going to have their backpacks. They're going to need to put their phones on silent in their backpack. And that's it. We're not going to see it again until 11:58, period. End of discussion. For the most part, that went pretty well last year in our first year of that protocol. You're always going to have, some exceptions here and there. And that's true in any walk of life. But for the most part, I do want to applaud all of you for a successful first year of being cell phone free here at EMS. So let's keep that going. We have no plans to change that anytime soon. As far as the pledge and daily announcements, we can't gather in the auditorium, so we're probably going to go back to the intercom. Got to talk to the student council advisors about that, try to figure out how that's all going to work. But we do want to get our kids involved in pledge and announcements in some fashion. But again, it's not going to be in the auditorium. Study hall. So 7th graders, that's your extension of core 2. You're staying in the same place. 8th graders are staying in their core 3 class for an additional period. They are allowed to go to band, orchestra, or choir, but it's got to be based on directions that we get from the directors. So again, my hope is that we're going to get a list of which kids go on Mondays. Not Mondays, everybody's gone on Mondays. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. So you folks know exactly who should be going on any given day. If they're not going to band, orchestra, choir, they're staying in that same room for study hall time. This is an acceptable time to allow students to have a simple snack. Normally, when we hit 10:30, 11 o'clock here, we're starting lunch periods. And so we don't want to see requisite behavior problems happen because kids are starting to get hungry. They're just kind of out of rhythm or whatnot. So here, the terms are pretty straightforward and simple. We're going nut-free. We're asking that they come in with a paper towel, which can be laid down on their desk, so that when they eat, they just crumple up that paper towel. If needed, wipe off their desk. You could always provide them with a little bit of the green spray, and then they could wipe that down or just let it dry, or you kind of work that out. Water only for drink. Chromebook needs to be away. We're not doing, while they're eating, they're not on their Chromebooks. They're certainly welcome to use those Chromebooks when they're done eating, right? It is a study hall. We want them to be getting caught up on their work, getting a head start on any homework assignments that you've given them. But we can't have both at the same time, right? We can't have food and drinks out and then the Chromebooks open. That's a recipe for disaster. And teachers just be cognizant of the fact that if your homeroom partner is a counselor or a child study team member, there's going to be days where they need to do counseling, or they need to, meet with a student or have a virtual meeting with a family. And this is one of those times that they're able to do those meetings in addition to cycles classes or exploratories, which has been our tradition. Face coverings. I'm sure by now you're all aware that students and staff are required to wear face coverings at all times while in the school building. There are very rare exceptions to this. It has to be based on a specific disability or compromising health condition, which face coverings are prohibitive to their overall health and well-being. But absent those exceptions, we're masking up all day long. So what happens when a kid doesn't wear a mask? First offense, we're going to get a warning. We're going to give them a backup mask if we have one. We don't have unlimited supplies, so believe me, that's not happening every day. There'll be a phone call home. The parent will be reminded of the importance of wearing a face covering at all times. If we don't have an extra mask, the kid's going home. Can't be present in school without a mask on. If it happens again with the same child, then they are going to be immediately sent home for the day, marked as suspension. And if heaven forbid somehow the same kid doesn't get it and we get to the third strike, that's it. They're gone. They're moving to our 100% virtual model. The stakes are simply too high. We're just not screwing around with this stuff. We want to get open. We want to stay open. And to do that, we all have to do our part, student and staff alike. Hallway behavior. So this is, sorry for my crude drawings, the floor stickers and whatnot are coming, but at the time of this recording, they're not yet installed. So what you're going to see, we're keeping two-way traffic in the halls. We're blessed with hallways that in most places are 9, 10, sometimes even 11 feet wide. So we can do single file on either side and still have 6+ feet in between. So you're going to see arrows marked on the floor. It's going to be pretty logical, right? You drive on the right side of the road, so you walk on the right side of the hallway. We're going to ask students to pause before they cross over, right? So if they notice there's people passing before they move from the office side to Mr. Mayola's room 1 over there, it's just like driving a car, right? You wait till people pass, and then you go ahead and move into your classroom. Teachers, please help us out. We're going to be in the halls. Monitoring passage time as we are as often as possible. Stand by your doorways, greet kids, and of course that also serves as an extension of supervision, and it helps us reinforce the importance of moving about the school in a calm, safe, and orderly manner. And covered in the parent and family video. Nobody's going to the bathroom between classes. Nobody's popping into guidance. Nobody's popping in anywhere. All right. They're going to their next class. They're checking in with you. And if they need somebody, you're going to pick up the phone and call that appropriate person and make sure it's okay. And in most cases, that person might even come to your room to meet that kid. We just can't have students gathering and lingering in the halls. Now more than ever. Excuse me, so it's a lot of talking. All right, so first day of school. Can't wait. Tuesday, September 8th. That is, of course, an A day. So on the left, if you are a blue gold hybrid student, of course, blue students are coming in live in school for that 4-hour day from 7:58 to 11:58, all 7 periods running. You're a gold student. We're asking that those students, right now it says take attendance via ClassLink. As I mentioned earlier, I think it's going to be changed to just they're defaulted to be present. Right now, Jess is locked in her office, and she has been for hours, it seems, working through all of this stuff with Beth. But they're going to be expected to log on at home, check the Google Classroom, look for directions, announcements, any kind of videos you have posted, especially that first day teachers. Let's try to make the gold kids feel welcome somehow, right? It's not going to really be their first day of school, let's be honest, until Wednesday when they come in and meet you. But we still want that first day on the 8th to be meaningful. And of course, it counts as a school day. So we should be putting something in our Google Classrooms for those kids to do. Maybe it's a syllabus scavenger hunt, getting to know you type activities. Not too much. Keep it light. Keep it simple, right? You really want that Wednesday to be the big day where you welcome them back into the building. Virtual students, 100% virtual students, and their teachers are going to be, all classes are going to run on that first A day, right? The expectation again is that you meet each of your classes at least twice a week. So for the first week of school, on the first day of school, that's going to be one of your 2 mandatory live meets. So everybody's going to get to see their virtual students. They're going to get to see you as their virtual teacher. Again, apologies, this says take attendance via ClassLink. They're going to be defaulted to present as I understand it. So in all likelihood, virtual teachers, you're not going to have formal attendance taking responsibilities. Please don't quote me on that. If you attend one of Dr. Sipe and Mr. Zigar's mandatory sessions on all of this stuff, and they tell you something different, do whatever they say. So that's the first day of school for our 2 different types of workers and learners. I'm going to create a student video and I'm going to include it in the slideshow. You don't see it now in this video because I'm just waiting until the last moment because gosh, things seem to change every day around here. But I am going to provide you all with a video for kids and staff as well by proxy that would replace the traditional opening day assembly that we would have in the auditorium, where we're kind of setting the tone for the year, making sure we hit home on the key points about health, safety, routines, procedures, and expectations. And then, of course, you guys are going to be doing the same thing on the 8th and the 9th, reviewing your classroom procedures, reviewing how things work in your room, making it very clear, and starting to build that community of learners. We're going to provide you with these paper resources that Jess made. There's a good chance that Genesis isn't going to look exactly like real life. She's been at it for days and days with Beth. Basically, we're building every kid's schedule by hand. And I shouldn't say we, Jess is, really shouldering that burden well. But we're thinking that having a paper like this that they're able to go through, think between 7:38 and 7:58, even up to 8:03, right during that morning arrival homeroom time. Let them log into Genesis, let them look at their schedule, and then perhaps transfer it onto this paper that they can keep in their binder that just helps them keep track of where they should be on A days, where they should be on B days, and of course, where all of their core classrooms exist. So on this slideshow, there's also going to be on the right here, this document link so that you can access this resource yourself. It is in EMS Important Docs, Schedules and Staffing 2021 virtual and hybrid resources. So we'll make that available to you there. We'll probably put some copies in your mailboxes along with this love letter from Jess and I. We're just trying to help remove the stress. The first day of school is sacred. It's like our Super Bowl, and you get to do it twice for our in-person students, which is kind of cool. It's also kind of nerve-wracking, right? It always feels good to get that first day out of the way. But I just want to stress, and this is from the book that you all have a copy of from Responsive Classroom called Building an Academic Community. And really our goals, pardon me. Sorry about that. Our goals should really revolve around helping students feel like they're a part of something important, right? Helping them be a part of this community that we're going to build together. You don't want to just kind of dictate what things are going to be like. You want to invite them to be a part of that discussion, how things work, why they should work the way they need to work. Why do we have to sanitize our hands? Why do we have to keep space, right? I know those sound like rhetorical questions, but the important thing is having those conversations with kids If you do see misbehavior, stay calm, calmly redirect them. That's not how we do things. Um, what's the correct procedure? Do your best to prompt them to get them back on track. Of course, we all want to start off the year positive. Kids have not been in school since March 13th, right? Just think about that. So it's going to take them some practice. It's going to take some relearning and some behavioral modification for sure. But, historically, the first days of school are actually really, really calm. Kids kind of got that summer haze still around them. So let's hopefully take advantage of that and really make them feel like they're a part of something important. Just a quick review. As is often the case, Mondays are really fully virtual, but of course you do have a 7-period bell schedule. So one of those periods, if you're an exploratory teacher, it's period 1. If you're a 7th grade teacher, it's period 2. 8th grade is period 3, top of my head. You have your team or PLC period in the morning, and then you have your prep in the afternoon. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, dedicated for team, as has been our practice. Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's for departmental, content, PLC work, common planning time. We asked that, and this is a feedback we got from the county. We just got to start keeping agendas. So, each, and this is really important for that PLC time more than team. So, maybe the supervisors appoint a point person, maybe they start a running document, but be sure you have conversations about just keeping a basic agenda. It doesn't have to, be out of control. Just some kind of documentation of what you're talking about, what you're working on a particular Tuesday or Thursday. I do invite you to the best of your ability. Remember, we have a virtual team of teachers out there, and somehow, some way, eventually, we're going to have to merge all of this back together, right? This hybrid schedule that we're running with, kids having options about how they do school can't last forever. If we only make it a week or two, my guess is we will kind of blow the whole thing up, and we will reassign students and staff to kind of more normal locations. We'll go back to 3 teams in 7th grade, 3 teams in 8th grade. Teachers that are like Mr. Smith who are teaching 8th will come back. Everybody will kind of go back into the right place. And that'll, of course, mean a lot of changes to student schedules and staff schedules. But if we, in my mind, I think if we make it a month or we make it a couple months, at that point, even if we pivot to fully virtual, we're going to ask that we hang in there with whatever formats we have, with whatever teachers and student pairings exist until we get to the end of the first marking period. So it's going to be really important that we use common planning. We maintain contact with our virtual teachers, because you don't want a student in a virtual math class returning, having a different teacher to continue their math class, but they're in two completely different learning paths. So, as is often the case, communication is going to be essential. We're probably going to do our faculty meetings kind of like this for the foreseeable future. I can't tell you how important it is that you watch these movies, that you follow along with what's going on in the building, simply because you just, we don't want to let each other down. We want to make sure that we're all doing the right thing. We want to get open. We want to stay open. Department meetings, your supervisors will communicate a little bit more about that. But I know, opening meetings, there's going to be kind of a blended approach, right? If you want in person, you're welcome to join in space and mask up, but we're also going to offer Google Meet join links for folks to participate remotely if that is what is in their best interest. And it's, if it's Tuesdays, we want to dedicate that time either to watching a faculty meeting video or doing a department meeting. We're going to have some committees running. We're going to need to have that collective efficacy and that shared approach. So please refrain from scheduling any personal appointments right after school on Tuesday afternoons. That practice will continue. I mentioned cell phones silenced in backpacks from 7:58, to 11:58 right now, and then eventually till 2:30. No lockers. Kids are going to be bringing everything they own everywhere they go. We will still utilize our staff Google Calendar. We've started putting events on there. I'm going to reshare it with everybody, so don't be alarmed if you see, if you see that share invite. I'll do that with EMS important docs as well, and that's just an annual kind of housekeeping matter. We do need to begin our duties right away. In this show, we have hyperlinked both morning and afternoon bus duties. Of course, no lunch means no lunch duties. So that is one less thing to worry about. And for the most part, I think our new hires have completed their emergency info on our staff phone list, which is linked here on this slideshow. But, if you moved, if you got a new phone number, whatever, it's really important that we do have that information. God forbid we need it in some kind of emergency fashion. I mentioned no drop-ins, right? If you're worried about the social and emotional well-being of a child, call Kristen at the guidance office. If you're worried about their health, call Des in the health office. If you're worried about their behavior, call Maria or Crystal first, and they will dispatch either Jess or I. If you can't get them, go ahead and call us directly. I think you're able to do that. I don't know if you have to do 852-002 first or, but, obviously, if you need help, do not just send kids to the office. It is, again, so important that every child is accounted for and in the right place at the right time. So we just can't have kids unaccounted for. Same thing for child study team, right? If it's a particular student with a disability, just having a rough day or, and it's kind of emergent in nature, you're able to contact Kishana and Charlene with the extensions provided on screen. You can also shoot them a quick email. They're, usually pretty quick to get back unless they're jammed up with another student who needs their assistant or staff person who needs their assistant. But no, pop in bathrooms between classes, none of that. They got to go where they need to go, check in with you first, and then we can go from there. As is our request each year, we do ask that you be thoughtful and mindful of our substitute teachers who are going to be more important this year and during our reopening than ever before. We're going to desperately need them. We're going to need to take good care of them, set them up for success. So the recommendation we have, and I did this when I used to teach, is kind of a cheat sheet, a quick guide that you can just attach to your profile in ASOP. That way it's always there. Jess or I are happy to show you how to do it. You can kind of have a base lesson plan template in there. And that way you just have to add a couple quick directions to your daily absence. And they have what they need. If there's something we need to print out at the office, we can access it through ASAP. It's almost like an email attachment. So try to leverage that as often as you can. We're going to ask you to maintain those 3 days worth of emergency lesson plans and resources. You got to be really specific about what you want day 1, day 2, day 3. Leave those folders in your classrooms. Let a teammate or a buddy know where they are. So if something happens, maybe Miss Farina can't make it, and so we asked Mrs. Esposito, hey, where does Kim keep her folder? And in all likelihood, it's going to be in her desk. And then we are able to make sure that we're not just scrambling trying to find stuff for kids to do. And Jess will be coming around just to take a quick look and make sure you're all set or help you if you have any questions. And we need that completed by the 1st of November. So our committees for, and I apologize, this should really say 2020 to 2021. I'm going to fix it right now because if I don't, that's going to really bother me. So we're going to maintain many of our same committees. As is our saying, many hands make light labor. Those of you on the school improvement panel, unless you've served 3 consecutive years, we're going to assume that you're going to continue. Folks that have helped us out with INRS, we would love to have you continue in that role. We also welcome any new additions to any of these teams. I will tell you that Schools to Watch group, I'm sorry, guys, I just got word that they're not accepting any applications this year. While I'm disappointed, I'm also kind of relieved because, we got enough going on. But we can still touch base a couple times as we get updates from that group. And then you see a variety of other committees that we run, from Student Spotlight, which honors Student of the Month, School Safety Team, that is Jerry's, that is related to the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights, Affirmative Action, liaison group, which meets routinely with administration and addresses contract matters or building culture matters. Educator of the Year. Those are the last 5 recipients of the honor form the Educator of the Year Committee, or the GEOY. Not sure if we're going to do Unity Tour. Be nice to have, we have advisory advisors, but we might, look to create some kind of advisory team. Again, that's not something that's going to start right away. We just need to kind of handle the basics first. But, if you're looking to contribute to our overall advisory program, there will be an opportunity for you to do that. We have our crisis team, which handles emergency situations. Gosh, if you think back to last year, we had a couple of those, and sometimes you just need to leverage a variety of staff members to ensure orderly operations in the middle of unorderly and disorderly events. And then we have a newly formed, I love this name, Pandemic Response Team. So we have members of different departments and grade levels that are participating in that. They were kind enough to offer up some time over the summer when we were looking at different scheduling models. Got a lot of great feedback from them. These are hard decisions that we have to make. They're sometimes split-second decisions that you have to make. And so we always, try our best to gather your input, your perspective, and take advantage of it. Anyway, I have 2 things linked on the show. This is the survey, right? If you want to continue with one of these committees that you've already done before, or if you just want to join a new one, there'll be a Google form sign up here. And then I attach the document of what you did last year, because I know sometimes I can't even remember what I did last week. Forget about last year. Field trips, this is kind of a moot point at the moment, but just a reminder, if your grade, maybe things get better in the spring. If you want to do a field trip, you need a teacher organizer. You need someone to take lead. I can recommend Miss Farina, Mr. DiPietro, Miss Richmond. These are all, seasoned vets that kind of know the ropes. They know how to secure transportation, work with Des. You want to make sure that Des is aware immediately of when you're going, where you're going, who you plan to take, so that she can start securing additional nurse coverage and address any potential medical concerns. But again, Mr. DiPietro, Miss Farina, Miss Richmond are great resources if you want to just kind of talk through what you got to do to make a field trip happen. I'm sure there's many others. Those just are the first to come to my mind. This is our annual pep talk for Danielson's Framework for Teaching. There will be observations this year. If you recall, in the spring, when we abruptly pivoted to remote learning, we did not, in some cases, complete all of the observations that would have normally been required for a particular staff person. But we are still going to use the Danielson framework. Of course, Domain 1 addresses how you plan and prepare for instruction, lesson plans, how you plan for assessments. Domain 2 is, what your classroom feels like, how students and staff interact with one another, how kids interact with kids, adults interact with students, how the room is set up for learning. And what that learning looks and feels like. Domain 3 is your instructional domain, the assessments you actually use, how it kind of coherently flows from beginning, middle to end. And then Domain 4, I know a lot of our new staff were trained on this. And that's just kind of the highlights of your professional responsibilities, how you go about working with families, working with colleagues, being a part of the greater school community. So teacher practice weights here in the district have been unchanged. Summative ratings, gosh, this is going to be interesting this year, folks. We didn't have testing last year, which means MSGPs, aren't going to be a thing for core content area math and ELA folks. So, perhaps the state says everybody falls into this bucket as a non-MSGP teacher, and then you're expected to do a couple SGOs. We haven't gotten definitive word. So, quite honestly, your guess is as good as mine at this point. But I would wager that all of you might be regarded as a non-MSGP teacher. So keep in mind, when you're doing SGOs, it doesn't have to always be the whole year, right? Our exploratory teachers do a marking period. They set kind of a short to intermediate goal that they can apply to a bunch of students. So, as you're watching this, you're thinking, oh my gosh, well, how do I do an SGO if we start in person, but then we go out and then we come back? Just talk it through with your supervisors. I love these conversations. I'm happy to have them with you too, but we'll figure it out. Don't worry about that stuff. Let's just get through the first day. I'm obligated to do this review with you every year. I wish we could just breeze right through it. But, it is important, and we want you all to be successful. We want you to be effective at what you do. So I do recognize that. But with everything being so uncertain, just know you might get a virtual observation. You might get an in-person observation. And as always, it is intended to provide you with constructive feedback and coaching tips for future improvement. All right, we're almost there, folks. Just hang in there. So what we're looking to do on the 1st, which is your very first day back, I showed you in the beginning of the slideshow the kind of layout of the day. You're going to report to EMS and listen to some videos from central office folks and things like that. When we get to the afternoon, we're going to have our opening department meetings. And as supervisors provide me with Google Meet links, I'm sure they're going to invite you and provide you all with them as well. I'll try to add them to this show. I'll try to add them to the document, maybe even an EMS staff calendar in Google. I'll see if I can't put them in there. Because basically, you're going to have a mix of in-person attendees. So, for example, Mr. Schmidt will be holding the ELA department meeting in Eloy with the core ELA teachers who are here in the building, as well as Miss Curley, Miss Brennan, and then Miss Bellecci and Miss Lopes. So some of you might be joining via Google Meet. Some of you might be joining in person. We tried to put all of these meetings in rooms that are air conditioned and that are spacious enough for the expected size of attendees here in the building. So you can see it there. I'm not going to read through all of them, but if you don't see your name or your department somewhere listed here, reach out to myself, Jess, your supervisor, and we'll make sure you know where to go come 2:00 on the 1st, next Tuesday. Also attached to this email, I mentioned this Hornung before. We need to be so grateful that we have Des in this building. I don't know if I could sleep at night if I didn't have Des in charge of our health and safety. So she has prepared for you all. I'm pointing to the top right now here, an infection prevention education video. She covers not only protocols that we're going to follow if a kid gets sick, what you can do to keep yourself healthy, what your kids can do to keep themselves healthy. But she also covers other routine matters like your emergency medical cards and if there's any info that she should know about you. We do have some staff people that are going to be working with Narcan trainers and glucagon trainers. That is in the event that we are able to do clubs, sports, and extracurriculars. At this moment, we have not gotten the green light for that. And as a result, our normal advisors and coaches have not been appointed. We really do appreciate their willingness to participate in these trainings, and we're just hopeful that we can get those clubs back and those sports back, because that's a big part of who we are, and it's a big part of what makes middle school such a special time for kids. So more on that to follow. As soon as I know, you'll know. But at the end of this video and attached to this email, there's going to be a Google form, and you're going to need to attest that you have watched both my video, the one you're watching right now, and also Desiree's infection prevention education video for staff. You can use some of the time during our opening days, like on the morning of the 1st, or certainly on the 4th. Any kind of building-based time is yours to use as you see fit. That's why, again, we not only for health and safety reasons, but we're backing away from the traditional in-person opening faculty meeting, because I know how important it is to get you guys in your rooms to prepare for a year that is unlike any other. So, but you have to watch these videos. You have to watch Des's health office video. I put the EpiPen training video here. We're always looking for delegates for that stuff. But the one on the top is a must watch, to the point where you're actually going to have to complete a Google form acknowledging that you've watched it, you understand the information. I mentioned before, we're going to offer an in-person Q&A session. We'll literally put this slideshow back up. We'll go slide by slide. Does anybody have any questions? I'm not going to say all this stuff all over again, but we'll just hit the points where you have something that you want clarified. If you watch this before the 4th and you just see me around, listen, we love having these conversations. We love working with you guys. So if you have any questions, you don't have to hold it to the 4th. Just take it easy on Des, though, please, because she's managing a lot. So I'm gonna start closing this thing out. In addition to being excited like I am, I'm gonna guess that a lot of you are also a little bit anxious and a little bit nervous about all of this, as I am too. But what I keep emphasizing to myself, and I keep talking to my own kids about, and my wife who's a teacher about, we've got to do the things that you see on the screen consistently. If we want to get open and we want to stay open and we want to make this work, we've got to do the little things. They're not life-changing steps, but we've got to be committed to washing and sanitizing our hands often. If you've got sinks in the room, take advantage of it. Again, you all have sanitizer stations in the room now. Make that a part of the routine. Got to wear your face covering. Your students have to wear their face covering. If for whatever reason you feel like they're just falling apart, get them outside. Teach outdoors whenever you can. When you're indoors, get your windows open. You can leave your door open. You want to get that cross ventilation as much as you possibly can. Keep the air moving. Keep the kids moving. Minimize close contact by maximizing distance in the room. Remember, those are your classrooms. So the desk setups that we have for you are just a starting point. You're the expert. So as you get up and running and you're like, hey, this isn't working quite as well as I'd like, we're a school first. Let me know. I'd love to hear your ideas on how we can improve upon those learning spaces. But we do need to actively avoid close and continuing contact with each other, with students. And as a reminder, that's defined as if you're closer than 6 feet for greater than 10 minutes, even with a mask on, you're really putting yourself at risk. So it's okay to get close to a student for a couple minutes if you're conferencing with them, if you're helping them with work, but then go ahead and move along, go ahead and move to the next spot. And the same goes for them. It's okay if, for a moment they need to talk to each other in a close manner with their masks on, but we don't want it sustained. We don't want them to just be stagnant and close, and masks are a must. Respiratory etiquette. If you do have to cough or sneeze, try to excuse yourself, if you can. If you can't, because sometimes they come on quick, just go ahead and do it into your arm or elbow pit. You can grab a tissue in time. You can do that. Of course, anything with your hands needs to be followed by hand sanitizer or soap and water. Disinfect regularly. Again, this is not a requirement of you as staff persons, but we want to provide you with the resources and supplies so that you can provide inter-school day or intra-school day disinfection. After school, Pritchard, our friends Maria and Mondo and Julio and Liliana, top-notch people. They're going to be deep cleaning every room using the electrostatic sprayers and tougher chemicals than the ones that are in the green bottle. They're going to be doing that on a daily basis and even more so over the weekends. If you're not feeling well, stay home. If your own child at home is not feeling well, keep them home. We've got to accept personal responsibility for doing the right thing. I know teachers are notoriously warriors, right? My wife had strep throat last year. She didn't stay home for one single day of work. Of course, a month later, she got strep again, as you might expect. But this is not the year for that. This is not the year to tough out that cold or fight through, achy feelings. We've all got to be responsible for not only ourselves, but everybody around us, student and staff alike. I mentioned, go outside whenever you can. Take your classes outside. Fingers crossed right now, the first week of school looks good, but it's New Jersey. That could change. The last thing I want to share with you, I think it's the last thing, and we share this with our families. This is the protocol. I know one of the big questions is what do we do when a kid comes to school and they don't look well? We showed you the isolation room. This is going to be kind of the idea flow that we follow. So on the left, and this is developed with the Department of Health. Our school physician has personally signed off on this protocol. On the left, if a student or a staff person has one of these symptoms, you're going home. All right. If it's a student, we're calling their parents, we're putting them in the isolation room, we're getting them picked up, and we're sending them home. Staff person, we're sending you in your car if you can drive. If you can't drive, we'll have to find alternate arrangements to get you home safely. But we're just not taking any chances. So one and done. Fever, new or worsening cough, shortness of breath, new loss of taste or smell, change in orientation, which means, kind of that whole vertigo type thing. Bluish tinge to lips, vomiting, diarrhea. That's enough. You're out of here. Even a student who presents just one of those symptoms, we're sending them home. We're not messing around. On the right, it's going to take two of these. Right? These might be a little bit more common. Muscle aches, fatigue, sore throat, chills, new or unusual headache, nausea, and congestion. Right? You might get one of those for any one of a number of reasons, allergies being at the top of the list. But if we see, aches plus a sore throat, going home. Chills plus nausea, you're going home. Chills on their own, we might monitor and proceed accordingly. So that's the protocol that we're going to follow. Guys, we're not going to know how this works until we get kids in the building and we start being confronted with these types of situations. Communication is going to be critical. Des, Jess, myself, we're going to be talking through these kinds of situations constantly. We're going to work with the Department of Health, central office administration. Communication is going to be at the heart of our road back to school. One last time, if you've got questions or there's things that you just don't, quite get, and believe me, it's a long list for me still, even at this point. We're going to have an in-person review of this information and a Q&A session in the ELC on Friday the 4th at 9:00 a.m. I'm happy to talk through these things with any of you before that point. But if you feel like you're in a good place, you understand what you need to do. You've watched this video, you've watched Desiree's video on infection control. You're going to click and complete this Google form here. It is collecting email addresses. You do need to type in your first and last name, and you're going to record the date you watched each of the videos. And then you'll see a message by clicking submit. You're saying that you get it. You know what you need to do. You're not going to be coming to the Q&A session, and you're kind of ready to rock. And then you can use that time in your classrooms to get yourself set up. But it's perfectly fine to have questions. It's perfectly fine to not feel okay about this. We'll talk it through on the 4th. And that gives you enough time to kind of get settled in, get a feel for things. And then we'll take it from there. So one step at a time is really the only way to do this. And I can't think of a better group of people to go through this than with this staff. As a staff member said to me a short time ago, if this doesn't work, if things don't work in Roxbury and we aren't able to stay open, it's not going to be because EMS didn't do its part. It's not going to be because teachers didn't take it seriously. It's not going to be because we didn't show students what they needed to do. We're going to do the best that we can. I have every confidence and every faith and every belief in each one of you. So that's it. I'm going to stop talking. This is probably my longest video yet. I do really hope that you enjoy this last weekend of summer, this last long weekend of summer. Can't wait to see you folks on Tuesday, whether it's virtually or in person. Ready to get back to work, ready to do what needs to be done. And let's keep working through these things together. All right, that's it, everybody. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.